Hey everyone, Ben Brookes here from Agency Express. Welcome back to Board Shorts. Today I am joined by the two wonderful technological wizards from Nesti. Gents, thanks so much for taking time to come on and have a chat. Shall we start with you introducing yourselves?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, thanks for having us on. We're excited, obviously, to be here. But to give you some context, myself and Luke are co-founders of Nesti. We're essentially a conversational AI company for estate and letting agents, and that covers voice AI, avatars, WhatsApp, etc. And yeah, we're excited to kind of dive into the realms of our partnership with Agency Express and what that entails.
Awesome.
Certainly.
So, guys, I think a great place to start. I mean, obviously, Agency Express, we erect and service boards for estate agents. I suppose the first question is, why the hell are we working with an AI company? Tell me a bit more about Nesti and about how you guys do what you do.
To give you a scoop of what we do at the beginning, we have a variety of different conversational AI tools, from phone calls to avatars, of course, with Agency Express and WhatsApp. And yeah, why the hell are we working with you guys, really? The idea is to sort of really change the way AI can interact with foot traffic fundamentally. So at the moment on boards, people may look at them, take a picture or call a number, but all the time they look at it and they tend to forget. And the idea is really to get a lot more ROI and value attribution from the boards that you're paying for. So if you can pay for a QR code and instead of going to a website, for example, if they can go to a conversational avatar, that negotiator, for example, representing a brand, and then they can sort of really run down and talk about a property, explain details, and capture information, qualifying, and then relaying that back to the agents. It just makes it much more, sticky, really, in effect, to capture more information. Um,
Yeah. I
but yeah,
think this is the important bit, isn't it? So with the connection between Agency QR, which is our QR code service, where we're attaching A4 size small form QR codes to the boards themselves. The trick for us was figuring out where that code goes. At the moment, the
yeah,
agent could redirect it to their web page or perhaps a capture page, but it's always very static. The trick here is that by sending it through to you guys, you can then turn that into a virtual estate agent, which is then going to interact with that human being.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's I
perfect.
think it's really interesting because there's two sides to it. There's obviously a benefit for the consumer and a benefit for the agent. And for the consumer, it means that, instead of scanning a board and let's say going through to a website or a portal link, they can ask questions about the property. They can potentially even book a viewing there and then by speaking to the virtual assistant. And for the agent, like Luke said, it really is about data capture. So it's about getting more data from kind of the boards, more attribution, more insights, etc., off the back of those scans. So that it just, all in all, we're really trying to increase the ROI of that spend. And for agents doing this, it's very much kind of new, novel thing. So there's this piece of it, to it as well, where if you're kind of the first to do it, it's kind of a whole new way of doing on-street marketing, essentially, that we're trying to empower.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when that agent, or rather, when the passerby, so they see the board, they see the QR code, scan here to speak to our virtual assistant. They scan the code. What happens next? What happens after that?
So what happens is it essentially takes, well, if I take you a step back,
Yeah, sure.
when an agent signs up with us as a company, we essentially work with them to create essentially kind of like an AI kind of brain or intelligence system where we train it on, you know, the qualification processes, their agency, their stock, their listings, their area, etc. All the details. You have this kind of central AI knowledge base that understands your business kind of inside and out. And then we layer that to kind of, as we say, different conversational AI products. So a phone system where it can answer calls, an avatar, which is relevant to this discussion, and WhatsApp. And with the avatar, essentially what we do is we generate a unique link where anyone that goes to that link or scans a QR board that takes them to that link will instantly be greeted by a AI virtual assistant that can be a stock one or an actual AI clone of a member of staff, a negotiator, or maybe a branch manager. So you would scan the board, you load up this interactive kind of AI assistant, and you can physically have a conversation with it as if it's like a FaceTime, for example. So that's kind of what the experience feels like. And all in all, it's kind of just that full kind of circle, that full experience, trying to close the loop.
And then that AI assistant, once that person's speaking to it, it's as if they're dealing with a member of staff, isn't it? It's not a case that it's a chat bot as such. It's like a real human being.
Exactly, yeah. It's like a real human being. And as I say, it can literally be a direct representation. It can be a clone of somebody in the branch, which is where it gets quite interesting.
Yeah. Terrifying. Okay, so then what happens then? So the AI talks to the individual, maybe asks them some questions, and they garner some information. That then links back to the customer in different ways, doesn't it?
Yes, so that links back to the customer. So when somebody has a conversation with the avatar, all of that data, quite interestingly, comes back into Nesti. So obviously it's then centralized in Nesti for the agent to view, which we can automatically email the agent and say somebody's just had a conversation on one of your agency QR boards. And we can also send that directly back into the CRM via our partnership with GlueDog. So there is very much kind of a 3-layered partnership here where somebody scans the agency QR board, Nesti has the conversation, and then we pass that information and kind of summary through GlueDog into the CRM. So whether that's, Streets, Apex 27, Rex, SME Professional, etc. There's a broad range. So it's really, as I say earlier, kind of closing that loop end to end from somebody scanning the board to getting the data in the CRM.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the really important bit, isn't it? Because what we're doing here is removing the manual elements of harvesting information and automating that process all the way through into their CRM package. A good point that you made about GlueDog there, because we started integrating with these guys at the tail end of last year, and that's certainly making waves. And that's something you guys have done as well, haven't you? You've built an integration there.
We have, yes. So we've built an integration with GlueDog, which obviously unlocks, I believe, 5 CRM partnerships. So, and we can go into detail on kind of what those are, but there's very much kind of 2 layers to how we work with the CRMs. Obviously, the first one is sending the summaries of the conversations into the CRM automatically, so that in theory you don't need to use Nesti or log into a new piece of software. Everything that the AI, every discussion that the AI has will be sent to your CRM. And the second part to it is the CRMs have all of the property and listing information that's obviously, organically sent to the portals. We also essentially pull that information and feed it into our AI's brain. So if somebody, let's say, if somebody is interacting with an avatar and they say, I want to know about kind of 125 Thomas Sneed, the AI has the information on that specific property from the CRM. So yeah, there's kind of it's kind of a 2-pronged attack in terms of how we work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sure. So I guess it's that case as with most AI, that the more you feed it, the more information you put in, the cleverer it's going to get.
Exactly. And that's what we prioritize when we start working with new agents. It's about training the AI, maximizing its value before we even go live. So that's kind of part of our setup and onboarding process.
So have you had any real-time feedback? So from customers who are actually using the service now, they're starting to see that feedback loop from the AI then connecting back to their CRM. What kind of experiences have you had?
As we said at the start, we have a couple different conversational AI products. Obviously, the avatars and the punch of Agency Express is quite new. So we have a couple agents now that are about to go live with it. However, we have the same functionality through the voice AI product, which essentially is our phone system, where we use conversational AI to handle incoming phone calls, whereby we're doing now thousands of conversations on a monthly basis. Again, where all of the data is sent into the CRM organically. And I mean, the feedback's great, right? Because what it essentially means is if you're an agent for, let's say, during an overflow period or out of office hours or on a weekend, you have this AI system that can have a call, transcribe the call, get all the information, and then just put it into your CRM for you. So it kind of changes the game instead of, traditionally coming in on a Monday morning and listening to voicemails, etc. So it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And the thing with AI is that AI's got to a point now where it actually does the work and it can do the work. So, as we say, updating the CRM, taking notes, extracting information. So, for example, if it's having a conversation with a buyer, it knows to try figure out, does this person have a house to sell? Are they going to need a mortgage? Because there's cross sells and direct revenue opportunities in that. So
staff time is obviously limited, of course, and fundamentally, I think we have to look at Nesti. It's plugging in the gaps, right? It's ensuring that the business is always operating around the clock and nothing is fundamentally missed. So I think the core piece of feedback we've been getting at the moment is just that kind of impact, really, of how somebody called at 7 p.m. The AI was there to actually consult, catch the notes, really, push that back into their CRM, and in the morning they can re-engage. That's really valuable, particularly in busy areas, I find. In London, for example, where there are, hundreds and hundreds of inquiries continuously, having this infrastructure has really upsized really their capacity, which is the important thing.
I heard a great stat the other day about AI that most people now feel the need to actually ask the AI whether it is an AI or not. So when they start interacting with it, and this is something I know we've talked about before, that you intentionally tell people that the AI will tell you that it is an artificial intelligence rather than trying to pretend that it's a human being.
Yes, we advise it to every customer we work with. We advise it, for the AI to explicitly state at the start of a call, I'm an AI assistant from Nesti Sales and Lettings, as an example. But it gets quite interesting because one of the trends we've seen across our customers is that people like to give them personas. So instead of just saying, I'm an AI from Nesti, it's things like, hi, I'm Lucy, an AI from Nesti. How can I help you? And we've heard stories of where, people of actual buyers and sellers have called back and said, I want to speak to Lucy. Like Luke said a minute ago, it feels like an extension to the team, and they actually perform like an extension to the team. So we was looking at some of our data recently and found that the inquiry to viewing booking rate for sales was about 60%, and for lettings was about 75%. So the AI is actually delivering the outcomes. I think there's an important point to mention here that not everyone wants to speak to AI. And, people will want to be forwarded to human beings. And we enable that as well, because we acknowledge the fact that not, the whole population right now isn't in a place to speak to an AI. Some people aren't comfortable. Some people would prefer to be speaking to a human, etc. So where possible, we can pass that to a human being.
Yeah, it's still at that bleeding edge point, isn't it, where people are getting used to this being a change in the way that we interact with businesses. When we consider AI, a lot of people will think of it as this is where we are. We're not going any further, but actually, this is the poorest it will ever be. It's only going to get better from here. It's only going to improve. So, bearing in mind what it can achieve already, where we're going to be in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, it's quite incredible to think.
I think the key thing for us is the conversational experience. So the naturalness of speaking to the AI is where it's rapidly developing. So every month, I would say the capabilities or the experience probably doubles in performance. It's absolutely exponential, particularly in terms of how human it feels, how natural it feels. The latency, how good the AI is at understanding when the caller or when the person it's speaking to is actually finished speaking and therefore not interrupting. Things like that's all improving at an exponential rate.
So what do you think's next for Nesti, for you guys? What's the next big development in the pipeline?
Well, there's a couple of things here. We both probably have a lot to say. Luke, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think an initial sort of next stage for us will be fleshing out the calling system in terms of outbound, right? So currently,
Okay.
we're very much a strong inbound system, but our perspective on outbound is sort of twofold. So an AI will obviously handle the entire conversation for you. This can be used for confirming people are going to turn up for viewings, etc. But in terms of actually winning instructions, this is where it gets particularly interesting, in my opinion. So obviously, people have a large contact list of people that have engaged in the past, and they haven't got time to really call old vendors, etc., to try and win them back or win new instructions. And so the AI really can step in here and call on behalf of the agent. But the idea is, instead of just going full complete AI, obviously, because this is where human touch is still very important, right? Building relationship, of course, is to win instructions. So the AI will pick up the phone, speak to that person, and then understand if they're interested fundamentally, and do a very short qualification flow. And the idea then will be to forward it straight to a neg. So instead of a neg actually, continuously calling all day, every day to numbers, they're just being provided basically qualified, interested people. And that's where I think it would be very significant for us near the end of the month.
Wow. So we're going to get to the point where we're literally augmenting that sales process, aren't we? Where you're
Exactly.
going from someone having to outbound and actually speak to people to generate leads and interest. The AI is doing all of that for you.
Yeah.
Exactly that. And I think the other part on our roadmap that we're quite excited about is going to my point about the conversational experience, is about making the AI more intelligent. So what I mean by that is, if you were to go, for example, on Rightmove now and leave a message, an inquiry on 20 agents and say, I want to book a valuation, this is my property, 19 out of the 20 will call you back and just say what time works for you. But you'll get the occasional one that's done no research, that will say, look at comparables, look at the kind of average sale price in the area, kind of look at how long you've lived there, look at if you've ever tried to sell it before, and get all this data before calling you back to have quite a informed conversation. And the next leg is really how that can be built into AI, into voice AI. So if you call an inbound voice AI system like us, and you say, my address is XYZ, and the AI can say, oh, okay, I can see you've lived there for 5 years, and I can tell you now that the house next door sold for, I don't know, £500,000 a couple of months ago, or something like that. And you can start to have more informed conversations, and you deliver a better end customer experience. So that's another part of where we're looking.
Okay, guys. Well, I think we're about there to tie things up. So what's the one thing that you want to share about Nesti and what you guys do, the soundbite to leave everyone with? What would that be?
I think specifically related to what we do, we do obviously kind of conversational AI, voice AI. I think the most important thing is that it's being adopted across every industry in the world at the moment. It's being adopted at exponential rates because of the cost savings, the time savings, etc. And we're seeing it firsthand with agents. We did an announcement last week, for example, that we're working with Peter Rollings, the former Foxton CEO, and we just had an influx of agents. AI is being adopted at an exponential rate. People don't want to be left behind. Therefore, I think just getting out there, kind of dipping your toes in, trying something, even if it's ChatGPT at a surface level, the basic tools, I think just exposing yourself to AI and starting with it and using it is the biggest piece of advice we can give right now, frankly.
Couldn't agree more. Get on the ship, because it'll be leaving without you either way. Guys, absolute pleasure to talk to you today. Thanks so much for taking some time to be on board shorts with me. What we'll do is put all of the links in the description around Nesti, what you guys do, and enable customers to reach out to you directly if they'd like to find out more about the various services that you offer. So thanks ever so much, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.